Hey, I'm back with another video. Laravel 6 came out recently. I thought it would be a good idea to get a new Tailwind CSS setup and install video. I've been getting some questions about setting up CSS pre-processing and compiling modern JavaScript with Tailwind CSS. Mix is a wrapper for webpack. It gives us a simplified way to set up webpack without having to learn webpack's configurations or getting to know all the different loaders. We'll take a look at setting up Tailwind CSS with Sass and compiling for modern JavaScript with hot reloading with browserSync. Before we get started, if you're new to the channel, I post up tutorials, tips, and tricks for web development, especially for developers that are just getting started. So if that's the sort of content you're interested in, please do subscribe to the channel. For prerequisites, we'll need to have Node and NPM installed, and I'll be using VS Code for my code editor. Also, I'll have Tailwind IntelliSense and Live Server as extensions. If you're on a Mac and need help with your web dev environment, I have a tutorial series on my channel to help you set up your Mac for web development, focusing on Terminal, Node, Git, VS Code, and a bunch more. You can check out the tutorial series in the top right corner over here, and I'll post it up in the description down below. Let's open up Terminal and set up our project. We'll first create our directory. We'll do make dir -6, cd into that, and we'll open up VS Code here. From here, I'll sing the terminal from VS Code. First thing we need to do is set up our npm package. Do that by npm init-y. And the -y just pre-fills some of this stuff so we don't have to answer a bunch of questions here. First off, let's install Laravel Mix. And let's up documentation. Go and look at the install. We've done this part. Let's go and install Laravel Mix. We'll create our webpack. So we do npm install -d Laravel Mix. Wait for that to install. Clear this out. And we also need to create this webpack X file here. Let's just copy this. Remember this. Let me explain a little bit of this. We're going to require Laravel Mix, the package that we just installed. And what this is going to do, this starts it up. We're going to create a source directory and look for the app.js. And this is a very basic setup for compiling our JavaScript. We need to create a source. I'll do a JS file for app.js. I'll also create a new SCSS for Sass file. That. Our source directory has our JS for our JavaScript files and our SCSS for our Sass files. What we'll need to change here is JS. I'll do this, put that in a JS folder. This option here will automatically create a dist directory for us with our JS inside. Yeah, that's pretty much it for setting up Webpack. Just let's test it out just to make sure it works. Do npx mix, see if it works. I think I need to save it. That out. Run it again. Oh, it's so right now it's installing a dependency for PostCss. So that's installing that. If you look at our package here, now we have PostCss here as well as Laravel Mix. So let's run it again, npx, and it should have created something. JS, and it compiled it. Didn't have any code in it. So let's just do console mix. Run it again. Yeah, so it has hello mix here. Here we can add in ES6 syntax. Mix will compile the JS code for the browser to understand. This isn't going to be the focus of this video. I wanted to have this as well. I've been getting questions pretty frequently about compiling Vanilla JS with a Tailwind setup. So let's clear this. I'll close all this out. Okay, let's install Tailwind. So this should be pretty straightforward here. Let's put Tailwind, click on Get Started. And we can just use this standard page here. We're not going to be integrating it with any front-end frameworks, so that's something we need to worry about. Just jump right here, install Tailwind via NPM. Even though we've already installed PostCss, copy that in. It shouldn't make a difference. Need to do the dash -e there. Now that that's installed, we can go into npx Tailwind. That will create our Tailwind config file for us. You can also manually create the file if you want. You can also do -p, and that will create a PostCss file for us, but we don't need that in this video. But the option's there if you need to. That creates that. It should create a template for us. Now, some things I want to just fill out here. Colors. CSS. I'm going to extend it. I want one of the colors that aren't available anymore by default. Teal. Colors. So we save that. You can also go into setting up plugins if you want to install plugins. We're going to leave that. Might make a video about adding plugins or creating a plugin presets as well, or just a little bit more advanced configurations for Tailwind. But that's out of scope for this video. And we need to set up our purge, and this is for production. We'll look for HTML files, anything that has HTML, our folder. And we'll look for JavaScript files as well. And we'll do only in the source file, or source folder, I mean. What we'll do is we'll look for JavaScript files within here, this folder. I don't want to look at this file or this file or file outside of that because we're going to keep our JavaScript in here. And we're going to look for any HTML files. Create one, jax.html. So we'll look for that. That's all good. And the next step would be to set up a source CSS file. Grab this. This will be our source CSS file for Sass. Let's not add anything here yet. Is there anything else? The purge stuff is here. I guess I could have just copied that. Okay, that all looks good for now. We have Tailwind installed. We have our source CSS file here. Created an index file. Let's just with a doc type. We need to set up our webpack mix. So right now we only have it working with our JS file. Examples. The first thing we need to do is set up Sass. Do that by just grabbing here. We just add Sass here. And anytime we add another kind of tack on another dot syntax, it's basically another loader for Webpack. So it needs to install the dependencies through NPM. The next time we run npx mix, it'll install Sass here. CSS. Next thing we need to do is set up our PostCss for the Tailwind plugin by going PostCss go to the bottom. We're not going to use the dot syntax for PostCss because it's more for one-offs. We're going to apply it globally for all CSS files using options. Then we'll tack it on at the end. Save that just so it formats it better. And here we'll just put in Tailwind. Let's make sure we spell this correctly. And the next thing we do, I want to have browserSync set up. And it might be better to test each one out so you don't have to debug if there's any kind of problems there, but let's just try it this way. Hopefully we don't have any issues. And here I'm going to use this browserSync back at the end. We don't have a domain. Usually I use Valet and have that as my domain where I have something.test. Valet isn't available for everyone. I'll show how to do it when there is no domain name. What we have to do is we got to create a server, and we'll tell it to be in our root our project. And here we'll have files, and we'll look for anything that's changed for our HTML. anything changed on our HTML file, and I'm going to also watch our dis directory. That should be everything for our mix. And that's pretty simple for a webpack setup. Typically, you would have to create a webpack config with multiple environments, with all these different loaders, with different configurations and options, but this is pretty simple. Definitely streamlines this process. And it's all documented on the Laravel mix docs. Okay, let's try it out. Let's do x, and hopefully there's no issues. Okay, so here we're installing our dev dependencies here. So this is for Sass. Okay, so that's finished, and it'll probably install one for browserSync. Probably have to do the watch script. So that created it, and it's a 4.01 meg file right now for our distribution for our CSS. That is now working with Tailwind. Okay, so there is no issues there. Let's go and do x watch, and this should install our browserSync. There we go. It's working there. Add something here. Do Laravel mix. Our body, each one. Do font bold, text 6XL, text field 500. Oh, so these classes are, or these utility classes are right, but I haven't added our CSS file yet. That by doing dist CSS app CSS, and here we add script with source, same thing. Slash dist JS. So save that. Loaded. And it's hot live reloading as we're making changes here. And let's do a P4. And if I inspect it, get hello mix. If I go to JavaScript here, should update. Hello mix 2. We've set up Laravel mix with Tailwind CSS version 2, working with browserSync and Sass here. Let's cancel out of this. I want to create some NPM scripts. And we'll open up package.json. So we're going to create some scripts. What I'm going to do here is install a new package, npm install -d cross env. That is now installed. Let's go and duplicate this. Don't really need the test here. Do mix. We don't need the mpx there. Build. And this will be watch. And one for production. And what we need is cross env. Node env equals production. I'm using this because the syntax for adding this is different on certain operating systems. So this just normalizes the script, so it works on any operating system here. What I'll do here is I'll do npm run build instead of mix. Let's test it out. Npm run build. So that built our JS file and our CSS. Do npm run prod. And it's sending the node env production. So this triggers our purge. So we have 4.43 kilobytes now for our app. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so there we go. It's purged and also minified. This should be minified as well. We don't need to set up our auto prefixer because it's already set up by default with mix. The only option you would need to add is if you didn't want auto prefixer. Let's try out mix watch. We can do that by npm run watch. And there we go. We got our watch script working. Okay, next thing I want to do is just to show some ES6 tags here. Close out of this. Saw that. Okay, let's create a new folder here, and we'll do component, a new file, and we'll call it hello.js. Here I'll do, and here's my class. I'll call it hello. A function called message. Call it M. And we'll do console log. We'll import our hello class here. Component, import, call it hello. Components, hello. And here we can name it, I'm going to name it hello. Const. I'm going to use ES6 destructuring for message here. New hello. And we can change this. Tailwind CSS and mix 6. Now let's go to NPM run watch. See if this works. Let's inspect. It should show Tailwind plus 6 mix 6. I would auto set that up. Okay, now just so I show you this, it doesn't understand ES6. So if I go to source, get to the original file, we have this import, cannot use import outside of a module. So that's why we need to have webpack to compile our JavaScript. And it gives us the ability to use ES6. All right, let's save that. The last thing I need to kind of show is Sass here. What I'm going to do is title. And I'll do add apply. And this is going to be using utility classes with Sass just to show that it works. Text blue 500. Text red 5. Now let's do npm watch. That again. Should have just left it open. I'll get rid of this teal here. Add title. For this, I'll add a 6 here. And there we go. Just to show that it works, we'll do a little search here. Title. And here we see that it gets compiled properly. Our nested CSS or nested Sass has broken it out. That works. So that's pretty much it for this video for setting up Laravel Mix with Tailwind CSS 2. We're able to install Tailwind. We're able to run ES6 code and get it compiled. We have a hot live reload over here. The last thing I want to do is I'm just going to go and make this a little bit prettier, a little bit more presentable, just kind of showcase Tailwind. From here, let's duplicate this. And if you don't want to stick around for this part of the video, I understand. I'll just be writing up markup and Tailwind. Here, Laravel Mix 2.0. I'll add a span. And maybe what I'll do in the video is I'll just speed it up at this title here. I'm going to do a div. I'm going to center everything. X. Just a sec here. I'm just going to reload VS Code because my IntelliSense isn't working. Okay, so it should be working now. So for here, I'm going to add some flex app items center. This equal text field, adding 2 rounded large XLG onto light. Save that. Now for the Laravel text, up this font light. That can be normal. Okay, so all right. A little bit of spacing I want to add there. I'm going to do a gap of X. All right. I'm going to do div 16. Another div height full. So the full 16. Border for gray. And just do that. Looks all right. That instead. And now I want to add this kind of that logo here. That's go and create that div 20 and with 20. I'll do div class circle, and that doesn't do anything. That to our CSS, our Sass file. the blue 500, opacity 70, width of 12, of 12, MX auto, empty. That got one blue circle here, and let's duplicate it twice. Okay, now we need a pink and a teal circle. That one looks too dark. It up a little, and that's pretty close. What we'll do here is I'll add absolute. Let's do bottom one, left, right. I think I need to add this as relative. Right. I got this MT1 here. And I think I have this auto. Get rid of. Okay, so that's kind of working. Why this isn't, I typed it at the same time here. So this is absolute. There we go. Now what I want to do here is get rid of this circle. There aren't any mixed blend mode utilities in Tailwind. I'll customize it here with a multiply. Our circles as multiply blend mode. I think that looks pretty good for what I wanted to achieve for our landing page. Close this off, and finally I just want to do NPM prod. So it built out our file. At it. It's minified and purged. Minified and purged here. Look at it and inspect. We should get our message here up in live serve. Inspect. Here we have our Tailwind with plus Laravel Mix 6, our JavaScript, and here we go. And source that is minified and purged. Minified and purged. Built for production here with our CSS here. That's it for this video. Let's just do a little quick recap. Take a look at this. So I just want to do a little recap. Initially, first installed Laravel Mix. Tested that out, making sure that that worked. After that, we installed Tailwind CSS. We built our config file, created our SCSS file here. Once we did all that, went back into Webpack Mix and added Sass, added our PostCss with our Tailwind plugin here, and set up browserSync. After that, we tested Laravel Mix. It installed our other packages, our dependencies that were required. So our browserSync here, our Sass here. Once we did that, we set up our NPM scripts here. So we're able to now run NPM run build, run watch, run prod. And it also allows us to create and use ES6 syntax for our Vanilla Javascript. Anytime we're using our Webpack, it will compile our ES6 syntax so it works in a browser. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And then after that, we just made this with our utility classes. The only customization I did was add the mixed blend mode with multiply. That's it for this video. Hopefully you learned a little bit about Laravel Mix. If you want to just fool around, make the configuration work for you if you have a different preprocessor, you can go into Laravel Mix here. They got a bunch of examples to try out. Just do a search. There's like view support, JavaScript bundling, versioning if you want to do that, code splitting. Use less if you wanted to. Yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff here. It's not as customizable as a Webpack, but it pretty much covers majority of the things that for our use cases. And that's it for this video. Hopefully you learned a little bit, and I'll talk to you guys hopefully in the next video. Hey, if you've gotten this far, thanks for the support. This will help the channel grow. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to click the thumbs up button and leave a comment down below. To stay updated with the latest content from the channel, you can subscribe by clicking right here in the middle.